Giants now host Marshall Green. Bet me we couldn't get 1,400 likes on today's show, beating one of his most recent videos. Let's prove Marshy wrong again. Like today's video, and as always, F Marshy. The Cowboys have extended the contract of Will McClay. Some big-time news here for Dallas as the VP of Player Personnel, one of the de facto GMs for the Cowboys, is back on a multi-year extension as broken by ESPN's Todd Archer. Will McClay's contract was set to expire after the NFL draft. He has had plenty of overtures in the past for other NFL GM jobs. He has always turned those down. So keeping him is a significant deal for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that doesn't mean he's always been perfect or he hasn't missed on where he's most heavily involved, which is the NFL draft. But keeping Will McClay, despite some misses, despite some errors in the past, is a big deal. Because I don't think you are actually going to get anybody better than Will McClay in the role that he has as like the great compromiser and being so heavily involved in organizing the draft side of things for the Cowboys. Will McClay is very good at his job. I would like it if the Cowboys simply let the Jones boys step away from the football stuff and let Will McClay handle all of the GM stuff. Losing him would have stunk. It would have been a real problem, and it would have made me very concerned about the direction of the front office moving forward. Make no mistake about it. Retaining Will McClay is a massive win for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we're going to get to the rest of the previously filmed coaching staff stuff. We were about to hit publish on it and then stepped away at the last second to get this info in there as well. So we'll break down all the coaching stuff here in just a moment. But if you are excited about the Will McClay hire, extension, spam me in the comments section of today's show. On today's Cowboys, we're breaking down the coaching staff for the Dallas Cowboys. A couple hires made, several more to come, some news and rumors on potential candidates to fill the staff as well. As of filming, 3 known names locked in. Head coach Brian Schottenheimer, defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, and special teams coach Nick Sorensen. Has been a little bit quiet as of right now on the offensive coordinator front, but I think you'll get more news and updates on interviews as the next couple days play out. Also worth mentioning, as first pointed out by Todd Archer of ESPN, several coaches were also in attendance for Schotty's press conference, which is a pretty good indication they're going to end up returning. That's Ryan Feder, the assistant quarterbacks coach, Steve Shimko, an offensive assistant, Ramon Shinyoung Sr., the assistant offensive line coach, and really the entire strength and conditioning staff. I will also make note, Clarence Hills reported that the strength and conditioning staff will return. It's not really a huge surprise at all there. Feder has been with the Cowboys since 2000, came in as part of the Mike McCarthy regime, was a McCarthy guy initially from 2015, 2018. In theory, if he is back, that would certainly indicate that Schottenheimer likes him a lot as well. Now, Shimko has ties specifically to Brian Schottenheimer. Was a Georgia GA when Schotty was the offensive coordinator for 1 year for the Bulldogs. Offensive analyst and assistant QB's coach under Schottenheimer as well in Seattle. Then jumped over to Boston College, worked his way up to offensive coordinator for a year, and is now a Cowboys offensive assistant. What his role is, I don't know. Could be a potential quarterbacks coach option, though, for the Cowboys. Ramon Shinyoung came in to the team in 2023 as the assistant offensive line coach. I am hoping, and we'll get into this more in depth, that you get offensive line coach changes for the Dallas Cowboys, but this is someone that sounds like the players are a big fan of on the offensive line, so he's going to stick around. Hasn't done much in the NFL, did spend like a decade or so as a high school coach in Houston, by the way. Now, as this staff gets built out, I want honest answers here. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys building out a quality coaching staff? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. It's the pinned comment on today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's look then at some defensive coaches to watch and who, if anyone, ends up coming back from this past Cowboys staff. Some names I've got my eye on. First up is Andre Curtis, the Bears safeties coach. You've lost Al Harris. He's taken a similar-ish role, ironically, with the Bears as a DB's pass game coordinator, which is the role that Curtis has had previously in Seattle when Brian Schottenheimer was there. He knows Matt Eberflus. They were on the same staff together in Chicago. Also worth mentioning that he interviewed for the Cowboys defensive coordinator role that went to Matt Eberflus. I would bet a lot of money he's on this staff. I would also bet that Dave Borgonzi is a member of your staff as well, the brother of new Titans GM Mike Borgonzi, by the way. He has been the linebackers coach under Matt Eberflus since 2018 in both Indy and in Chicago. Was a Cowboys assistant as well from 2011 to 2013, both defensive and offensive, by the way. So, again, I bet some money he ends up as the linebackers coach here. I would think it'd be really cool if Sean Lee was your assistant linebackers coach. I don't know if Sean wants to coach, though. Also worth mentioning is the defensive coordinator, Eric Washington. I don't think Alan Williams is going to come back and do any more coaching. He took over for the Bears DC role in 2024. Defensive line coach background, so he could certainly be an option in a similar role for the Cowboys there. Also has done D-line coach work for the Bears, Panthers, and Bills. And that does leave open several spots and potential returns for the Cowboys, both on offense and defense. As a reminder, in addition, of course, to Bones Fossil, Robert Prince has left to be the Dolphins wide receivers coach. Al Harris already left to join the Bears staff, which isn't a huge surprise. I kind of didn't think he was going to be back. He's taking a kind of secondary passing game coordinator role with the Bears. So we'll break down the options here that exist for the Cowboys internally and some other outside names on offense. But first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The big game is just around the corner. It is playoff time, and it is almost out of time to get in and get in on the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Georgia, Florida, and, of course, Texas. This is one of my slates for the big game. Always put the Patrick Mahomes free square as part of your Prize Picks runs. It's going to come to fruition. It's a half passing yard. It's a no-brainer. I also like Saquon Barkley more than yards. It pains me, but he's been great on the ground. And I love Xavier Worthy, 5.5 yards on the ground. Who else thinks Andy Reid's going to be cooking to open up that game? I think a Worthy reverse is very much in the cards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Let's talk the current guys on the defensive staff that may or may not be back. Jeff Scanina, I think, does have a chance. I think the Cowboys were mostly impressed with what he was able to do. But again, this is going to be heavy Eberflus-led decisions. Greg Ellis is another name to monitor. That's very much a Mike Zimmer hire. Cowboys do like having former players kind of in those assistant position coach roles. So we'll see. Maybe Leon Lett could come back and Lett worked with Eberflus too. Scott McClurley, the linebackers coach, I don't think returns. It's going to be Dave Borgonzi. I would bet a lot of money on that. Plus, he's a McCarthy guy, so I don't see that one happening. See about Darian Thompson, the assistant linebackers coach. And that's assistant position coach doesn't get me nearly as ramped up as other things does. I don't think Cannon Matthews will be back. I think you see Andre Curtis in that particular role. Maybe they go for a corners coach potentially as well instead. Paul Gunther, the run game coordinator. I like him. I think he's mostly fine, solid even. But he was a Zimmer hire too, and I wonder if he's kind of a linebackers guy at his core, and so is Eberflus. So it might not be the perfect overlap that you're searching for. All right, offensively, don't expect Scott Tolzien back. Something tells me he'll hole up in the bunker with Mike McCarthy, and wherever McCarthy goes next, Tolzien will end up going next as well. Jeff Blasco, the running backs coach / run game coordinator, which I don't think was very good. Based on some of those interviews we've mentioned for the Cowboys OC, kind of feel like they're looking for an offensive line focused guy to help with the run game. That would kind of cut into Blasco's role. I would not be mad if he's gone. I do want to retain Lunda Wells, potentially, even maybe outright, hopefully, as the offensive line coach. The Commanders and Dan Quinn wanted Lunda Wells to come be their offensive line coach last year. Cowboys said no, which is I think a very promising sign on that front, and I think they're going to try to keep him. We will see if that ends up happening or not as it relates to Lunda Wells. Now, do you want him as the offensive line coach? Y for yes, N for no. Y or N, go vote in the comments of today's show. Now, in an ideal world, Mike Solari doesn't return either. I wonder if he actually, or if my assumption of him not being a shoddy guy is true or not. They overlapped in Seattle. Maybe that wasn't actually the case. He doesn't want him. But I'm always worried it'll be the OC. I would like to get Lunda Wells in the O-line coach. I think he's a better O-line coach than Solari is. All right, other offensive names. Evan Harrington, offensive assistant. Whatever. Chase Hazlitt, I kind of bet also doesn't come back. That was a McCarthy guy too because of the Jim Hazlitt connection. I feel like they go in a different direction on that front. Quarterback's coach job is going to be up for grabs, it sounds like. The Cowboys did interview Kerry Joseph for that role, according to CBS Sports. Yeah, this was a couple days ago, but other stuff has gone on, like Eberflus hiring, so we're kind of late getting to it. My apologies there. Was the Bears quarterback's coach under Matt Eberflus. Briefly overlapped in Seattle with Schotty as an offensive assistant. Was the assistant QB's coach as well. I am curious to see what ends up happening there as it relates to Joseph. He was a long-time CFL starting quarterback. I do want to mention that part as well. Spent some time coaching at the FCS level. I think was actually an offensive coordinator at the FCS level. I do feel the need to mention this because it is a fact. The Rooney Rule does require an interview for a quarterback's coach. His overall tenure makes me wonder if he could be on the staff, but in an assistant role. He's got wide receivers coach background, which you're also searching for too. Maybe he's a staff option in Dallas and less of the instant hire as the QB's coach, which I figure Schotty will be pretty heavily involved with anyway. I will have more Cowboys news for you right here on the channel. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Final news updates here. Jason Witten is no longer expected to be on the Cowboys coaching staff, at least for now. I do wonder if that changes maybe once his kids are out of high school, but I like Witten. I don't want to force him upon this new Cowboys staff, so maybe that's for the best in the end. Quick Saints update for you. Mike McCarthy out of the running for the Saints head coaching job. Kind of sounds like he knew he wasn't going to get hired, so he's pulling himself out in advance, and now will be coming in as sitting a year out, maybe gets hired in 2026. Leaves Kellen Moore as the favorite. There's an irony in that somewhere, / I find a little bit humorous on top of that.